Basically, the stage we're at now is how is this ruling going to be interpreted? And not by other courts or not by states that have passed these bans. We know that. We're talking politically. And so there are a couple of areas where you must pay attention to what different cohorts within our little, arena of politics, how they are referring to this. Because, look, the bottom line, and I think people who listen to this show understand this, but the vast majority of Americans do not pay much attention to politics whatsoever. If I was not aware of this, I would have assumed that there would be this massive outcry on this leaked brief. But the fact is that most people are not paying attention to it. They're certainly not going to pay attention to it until it becomes a Supreme Court ruling. And even then, I don't know what percentage will. We do know that something like 69, 70% of the population believes that Roe v. Wade should not be overturned. And by all accounts, it's going to be. So the question is at least in terms of the short term, will the Democrats take advantage of the fact that the Republican Party has finally succeeded after a 50 years, I think is accurate. A 50-year, maybe it's a little bit less, actually. I mean, remember, abortion was not a partisan issue until Bob Jones University was threatened with losing its tax status under the Carter administration because they would not allow black students to date white students. And therefore, they were not allowed to have a tax-exempt status. And it was out of that anger that I think it was Paul Weyrich and other members of Christian conservatives and other Republican operatives got together and tried to figure out what issue could they rally evangelicals around to get them more involved in politics. Jimmy Carter was a reborn Christian. And evangelicals up to that point largely abided by the scripture that says, leave unto Caesar that which is Caesar's. In other words, we don't engage in the profane world of politics. And then the Republicans and the
Reagan campaign,
evangelical,
it too.
Well, this was before that, actually.
I guess when you say 50 years, I kind of did the math wrong. Like next year, it's 50 years to the year that Roe was decided.
Yeah, this is 76.
Yeah.
Really, around that time. And 76, 77 is, I think, when they first got together. And they decided upon abortion as the issue. And so since that time, there has been a long slog, and we are just about there. This is the Republican Party. This is not a wing of the Republican Party. This is not a rump of the Republican Party. These are not, people who have parachuted into the inside and infiltrating the Republican Party. This is the Republican Party. So when the leader of the opposition to the Republican Party gets up and does not seem to understand this time and time and time again, and refuses to acknowledge this is who the Republican Party is.
It's as foundational as anything to the Republican Party, anti-abortion issue, as anything, as tax cuts. That's how up there it is.
And refuses to acknowledge this.
Yeah.
And then sends the message. Remember now, the leader of the Democratic Party should be saying, we need Democrats. What could possibly step on that message? We need Democrats. The most important thing is we need more Democrats in office. Here is the leader of the Democratic Party.
I mean, the fossil fuel industry, they weigh in so significantly. I mean, how could it be that nobody on the Senate side cares, in the Senate cares about climate? Some of them do, and they talk about it. When it comes to the votes, it just isn't there. They just aren't there. So rather than saying, well, we have to defeat them, no, let's just try to persuade them. I want the Republican Party to take back the party. Take it back to where you were, where you cared about a woman's right to choose, and you cared about the environment, and all. Hey, here I am, Nancy Pelosi, saying this country needs a strong Republican Party, and we do. Not a cult, but a strong Republican Party.
Okay, now, the applause she's getting is from, of course, this room full of activists who are fighting the good. Oh, no, I'm sorry. She was at the Aspen Ideas Festival in Miami.
Can you explain that part? I thought it was an aspen.
Well, they have to,
No, the ideas are like a peak, like a mountain, but then you want to be warm and have fun, right?
Right. But I mean, look.
I mean,
here's Emma's tweet.
I aggregated this last night. I mean, this is from 2016, the first one. One of my prayers is that Republicans will take back their party. The country needs a strong Republican Party. September 2020. Oh, sorry. September 2020. My apologies, not 2016. September 2021. I say to my Republican friends, take back your party. This country needs a big, strong Republican Party. And I say that as the leader of the Democratic Party. Don't have to be a cult of personality on the extreme right. That's almost verbatim what she said there. From February 2022, take back your party from this cult. Take back your party. America needs a strong Republican Party and a strong Democratic Party, etc. And then I put up her quote from yesterday. So, this is she was due, right? It's been like 3 months since she last said this quote, so she had to do it. And you know what this illustrates to me, though, really quickly? Because she's saying the same freaking thing that she says every time when she's talking about Republicans is they don't even have a rhetorical strategy on abortion. If she's using the same stuff she's been using since
for every
other Republican issue, let alone a legislative strategy, they've got nothing. Rhetorically, even when this is the biggest gimme, which is so popular, a woman's right to choose in this country, and you're just going to use the same. Let's go back to Plan A. I've got nothing else.
And let's be clear on this, right? I'm going to try and get into the mind of who it is. I mean, of what the agenda is here. Who is it that she thinks she's reaching? I get it. We want to convince some of those suburban voters that the Republican Party is bad, but we don't want Nancy to be, partisan when she's delivering this. What Republican voter in the entire country?
Yeah.
What person who has ever voted for a Republican one time in their life is taking their cues from Nancy Pelosi, who is short of Hillary Clinton, whether you like Nancy Pelosi or not? What person who has ever voted Republican is going to take their cues from perhaps the most demonized Democratic politician in our lifetime, aside from Hillary Clinton?
Are you saying that the guy sharing memes on Facebook about how the Jews control the media is going to be not going to be persuaded by her saying this every 2 or 3 months?
I'm saying that even that guy's mom and dad, who were like, well, Johnny's a little bit crazy, but we, ever since he left the suburbs, even that mom.
We agree about Pelosi.
Yeah, we agree about Pelosi. We just,
all agree on that.
you can say it in a better tone. And then put that aside. There's no efficacy for what she's doing, even if there is some direct. It is stepping on the message. Well, even before we get to the message part, let's just look at the rationality. There is no Republican Party to take the Republican Party back. Who is that person?
Yeah.
Steve Schmidt just outlined that John McCain, the single most obvious, masturbatory dream of the maverick Republican who is not on board with this stuff was completely on board with this stuff or completely feckless in it.
She thinks they look at their base the way she looks at hers. Like, take the party back from... No, like, they're using those people to get power, Nancy.
And there's no daylight between these people. Half of those, that would have been the dynamic 20 years ago. The dynamic today is they're the top fundraiser in the House.
Yeah.
In Marjorie Taylor Greene. They are the presidential candidates in 2024 unless Donald Trump runs. There is no Republican Party to take back the Republican Party. That does not exist. That is a fantasy. And it's not only ineffective with the people that I can only imagine she thinks it is horribly damaging to the message that we are in a crisis. And when they go out and campaign for Henry Cuellar, they are doing the exact same thing.
When she says we need to persuade the Republican Party, how do you persuade another party to join your side? You beat them.
There is no persuading of parties. That's the whole point.
Yes. How do you work in politics for decades and not understand it's about power? It's about power.
They think they're being clever, and the bottom line is they're not. They're being stupid and incompetent. Honestly, I mean, I wonder if there's like a member of the DNC. There's like 500 members of the DNC. One of them could sue her for just a blatant malpractice.
Yeah.
We're trying to win an election here.
It's just unbelievable. Like, it is so self-serving.
Yeah.
It is just so that she is seen as being like some type of responsible to a group of people who would never vote for Republicans anyways, and who, I don't know, like to delude themselves that, well, there's always a chance that they'll be nice to us. Because maybe the real Republicans will come back. They're all hiding. They're all hiding in the cloakroom until, of course, they come out when the guns go away and then pretend they weren't hiding.
And I'm a Democrat saying this. It's like, yeah, we know that's all Democrats have been saying my entire life.
Yeah. I know. I mean, the supposed benefit of having someone who's so senior, and I'm not just meaning her age, but in the amount of time that she's been in Congress, in government, is that, okay, you have some knowledge base and build and an understanding of what you're dealing with. No accumulation of an understanding of her opponent from the Clinton era, none from the Obama era, none from the Trump era. And we're just pretending and spouting out ahistorical nonsense about one of the maybe top 5 foundational issues about the Republican Party: tax cuts for the rich, deregulation, and anti-choice, and racist policies. Those are like that. That's the top 4. That's the top 4.
She is only appealing to Chuck Todd and that ilk. Where it's like, look, Chuck, I'm reasonable. I've actually called for the. I was the one who stood in the way of George Bush's impeachment. I am the one who really feels it's important that we have a strong Republican Party. Like, give me, God.
Oh, I forgot about the George Bush impeachment thing. Jesus.
All right.
Folks, I can't wait for her to say that same quote in like 4 months.
Do the same segment.